Hey booktube, welcome back to my channel and welcome to The Salt. I've seen a lot of other people do this video and I feel like I have a lot of opinions on the matter, so today I'm going to be comparing UK and US book covers. Obviously you might not share the same opinions as me, your taste in book design is probably going to be very different to mine. This is really just meant to be a fun video and I'm kind of like not actually here to like trash one cover over another. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's just get on with the comparisons. So just for the sake of consistency, I'm going to be putting the British covers on the left and the US covers on the right, and hopefully by the time I get to post-production of this video, I pointed to the correct sides. So the first cover that I wanted to compare is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. So this is what the British cover looks like and this is what the American cover looks like. You would think, what with like all the beautiful gold filigree, I would really love the American cover, and I do like that aspect of it. But I just think the American cover looks really bland and really boring, and it's literally just a picture of a castle on a hill, sort of like faded into just nothing but blackness, and I don't think it captures the feel of the book as well as the British cover. I realised that the Brits got possibly the most on-the-nose metaphor possible in this book cover, what with the image of the crown on the pillow, but it's very obviously a trap. I feel like while the imagery was a bit in your face, it does really work with this book, and the symbolism is kind of like spot on for the theme and the tone. I don't know, the American one just seems more like it's going to be like a YA basic ass romance, whereas I'm pretty sure there's not even any romance in one of this series. So yeah, if it wasn't obvious, I'm going to give a point to the UK cover. The next covers I'm going to be comparing are the Throne of Glass books by Sarah J Maas. And I know that these covers are really similar, but basically the only difference is that the British covers have a white background and like this weird swirly coloured effect behind the image, whereas the American covers are much darker and in full colour, and honestly just for that reason alone I actually much prefer the American covers. I just feel like having the actually like fully rendered background colour just makes these books stand out so much more and just makes them look so much less bland. Like it just kind of looks like Selena is walking in the void for most of the British covers, and I just don't really vibe with that. I do actually own all the plain white British covers, which is fair enough, but if I had really been invested in this series, I probably would have forked out to get all the American hardback covers. Just something about this looks so much better than this, at least to me. Book number 3, another book that I have multiple copies of, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I feel like the US definitely kind of got the short end of the stick with this cover. It's literally just like a stock looking image of a guy in a cloak in a field and then like some really bland text, whereas the British cover is like, it's really atmospheric and I love the font, like I love the leaves and the flowers and the overgrown effect of it. I don't know, is there anyone that actually prefers the American cover to this? Like, really? Yeah, I don't feel like I need to say much more other than that is definitely a point for the UK. Number 4, and I feel like I already have a well-known history with this book cover, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. So I feel like most people can agree that the British cover of Strange the Dreamer is absolutely gorgeous and it's wonderful and shiny. I just feel like this edition of the book is just gorgeous. Alright. So like, I'm sure some people do really like the American cover, but honestly I live in Leeds and like this is what our like Leeds football team symbol looks like, and I can't unsee it. Like whenever I see the American cover it just makes me think of like football, and I really hate football. So I'm sure there are those who do like the American cover, but for me I just feel like it's pretty obvious that the British cover is just a clear winner in this case. Next I'm going to talk about one of my new favourite books, and that is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. So here is the UK cover and here is the US cover. I will say, before I read this series I actually didn't really like the US covers very much. I much preferred the UK covers entirely. I will say the US covers have grown on me and I do really like the font and the style of the artwork on them, but still, like, in my opinion nothing can top just the absolute beautiful badassery of the UK covers. You show me a fearsome corvid blending into the night sky, like, do you really think there's another book cover that I'm going to prefer over this? I just really like the ink drawing nature of it. I really like just how, I guess I just like how much like the symbolism within the corvid just like vibes with the rest of the story, and I really just do love the UK covers so much more than the US covers. Even though this has grown on me, and I will admit it is very pretty, I still really vastly prefer the UK covers. Next cover I'm going to talk about is the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. So I think the first one is called The Final Empire. So this is what the UK cover looks like, and this is what the US cover looks like. And to be honest, I kind of don't like either of these. As I said, I really hate books where you can like see people's faces. But also this looks like the kind of thing that like you just sort of trashily doodle on the back of your exam when you finish 10 minutes early. I honestly just really don't like either of these covers at all. I think if I actually had to like, you know, forcibly make a decision, I think I would have to give it to the US cover just for the level of artistry that I guess went into this one as opposed to this. I'm sure a lot of people do really like the sort of weird minimalist look that the British covers have, but honestly to me it just looks like rushed and doodled and unfinished, and I don't like it. It's just too simple and too plain and too bland. It's just boring. It doesn't really give me a feel of the book, and you know, I'm sure it does represent the book in some way, but yeah, I mean, this is like actual nice artwork. Even if I don't like faces on the front of my book covers, I still think this is the better piece of art, so I'm gonna give it to the US. Next up is An Ember in the Ashes by Sava Tahir. These are both the new British and new American covers, because I'm pretty sure they had like different covers originally. But like, this is what's in print now. So considering the fact that I just talked about how much I really don't like seeing like depictions of characters on the front cover, it should come as no surprise that I vastly prefer the UK cover to the US cover. I really like the vibe of the UK cover, and I much prefer the font on this one as well. And I just really like the sparkly, glowing, light-infused depictions of the animals on the front of all the covers of this series in the UK style. So next is The Queens of Inislia, and so this is the UK version and this is the US version. And just to give you an idea, I don't know about the US version, but the UK version is like beautifully shiny. So yeah, that book was entirely a cover buy for me, and if it hadn't have been for the UK cover, I would have just never picked it up. Dark blue and gold is just a very, very good colour scheme, and I think it just works really well on the British cover. I love the night sky that's like depicted throughout the middle, and I really like the sort of like sketched out look of like the plants, I don't really know what they are, just like that run up along the side beside the title. It's just, it looks really good, it looks really beautiful, and I love seeing it on my shelf. It's just like so pretty and so shiny. The US cover on the other hand, again, I don't get this thing where you just like take a photo of something and then just fade out the edges into black. It's just not like something that I think looks very good ever. I do really like the look of the crown on the US cover. Like, I like how it looks weird and huge and sharp and intimidating. Like, I really like that look. But honestly, like, the real person's wrists kind of just creep me out. They just remind me of like old lady wrists. I don't know why. I don't know, it's just like a really weird, unnatural way to like bend your arms to try and hold up a crown. It just looks weird and I don't like it. I really just don't like photographic real people on covers ever. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the UK cover. Book cover number 9 is Circe by Madeline Miller. These covers are both very similar and very different. I know that they are both very, very shiny. I have the UK cover somewhere, but like, I don't know where. And I think they both fit pretty well with the vibe of the book, which is a Greek myth retelling. The American cover definitely gives off more of like a traditional ancient Greek myth sort of vibe than the UK cover, but I will say I think the UK cover is infinitely more beautiful for all like the intricate flowers and plants and things that are like scattered about the front. As much as I do like the US cover, I think the UK cover just has more going on, and I just really like the flowery artistic vibe that it gives off. While I haven't read it, I know that this retelling of Circe is meant to like expand upon her character and give her like more depth and rewrite her in a way that actually gives her like more agency as a character within her own story. So I think I prefer this beautiful, like vibrant, blossoming cover as opposed to this one. Makes it look more like a traditionally like ancient Greek story or mythos. I like that this one tells me that it's probably going to take things in a new direction, and yeah, I just really like the intricacies of the design on the UK cover, so I am going to give this one to the UK cover. The next covers are A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and while I know that there have just been like special editions released for both of these covers, I'm just going to be going with like the standard covers. Both of these covers are pretty similar. They both have the character stepping between like these circles, which I think represent like different versions of London. Haven't actually read the story yet. And they both keep this black, white and red colour scheme, which I'm I'm really a big fan of. The only real difference is that I think the US covers are more like minimalist and geometric, whereas the UK covers are just like a little bit less stylized. So I do really like both of these covers, and while I do prefer the spine on the American covers, like the US covers have beautiful spines, but for the actual cover itself I do prefer the UK cover. I just like this design more as opposed to like the top-down view. I think it just has a little bit more personality, at least that's how I see it. And so yeah, while they are like really similar, it's just like two different takes on basically the same image, I do just prefer the UK cover just a little bit. Book cover number 11, and it's Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I almost feel like I should ask, is there even any competition between these two covers? So obviously this is the UK cover, and I don't know whether they were trying to like keep it more like in the same style as Rainbow Rowell's other books, which were all contemporaries. I haven't read any of those and I'm not that familiar with the cover art, but this really feels more like a really basic ass contemporary cover to me. Whereas this one is fun, it's colourful, it's in your face. I love the colour scheme on this so much. The artwork is fantastic and dynamic. It really makes me want to read what looks like a really fun story. Like, I get a lot out of this cover. I get nothing out of this cover. To me, this looks like it would just be like a really slow and not very eventful and not magical at all, maybe just like a YA romance, which while that does like play a part in this story, like there's way more to it. Like this doesn't capture the magic of this cover at all. I had heard people like review and talk about Carry On before I bought and read it, but it was this cover, like seeing this cover, I saw it and I was like, I want to read whatever book is inside that cover, because like the cover just looks so amazing, and I was like, I want to own that, I want to own that piece of artwork, and I want to know the book within that piece of artwork. Like, that's what made me buy the book in the first place. So obviously this is just like a really easy, hands down, this is going to the American cover. Like, just get this out of here. This should be the only cover available for this book because it's fantastic. Okay, almost at the end, and now the next book I'm going to talk about is A Game of Thrones, but I know that there are so many different versions and releases of this. However, I'm just going to be talking about the newly released hardback illustrated edition of A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. So they're basically very similar. It's the same image and design. The only real difference is the UK cover is black and silver and gold, whereas the US cover is just like red and gold. And the US cover has like this big bar of like blocked out text through the middle, which I really don't get why they did. Like, if you're going to make it look like this leather-bound cover, just keep doing that and don't like put this sleeve across it. I feel like that may have made it a little bit obvious as to my preferences, but yeah, I do prefer the UK cover. I just, aside from the fact that I much prefer the black and silver colour scheme with the little highlights of gold, like seriously, who doesn't prefer like a beautiful dark black book over like, I don't know, it's either gold or brown, I'm not entirely sure, but like black always looks better. I actually thought these were two completely different books until I realised that one was just the US release. But yeah, I vastly prefer the UK cover, which kind of just goes to show that something as simple as just like one colour change really makes the difference. And the very last set of books I'm going to talk about are obviously the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. So these are our UK covers and this is what the US got. So I feel like most people will probably prefer whichever covers they grew up with just for like the nostalgia factor of it. And like that definitely does play into it a lot for me. I grew up with the UK covers, so I tend to much prefer the UK covers to the US covers. The US covers just kind of look like that weird, like they look like the weird Twilight Zone version of the books that I know and love. So to be fair, while I was never a fan, even growing up, of like the blocked out colours for like the title and everything, and then just like the small band of image, I still do prefer the illustrations on the UK covers as opposed to the US covers, because the US ones look kind of derpy. They just look kind of like a bit weird to me. Again, I think like such is kind of the nature of like illustrations for children's books. They're never going to look exactly how you think the characters look. But like just comparing the covers for something like the Half-Blood Prince, like this looks super badass and this just doesn't quite give me the same vibe. But yeah, I think just for like my own like childhood preferences, I am going to give it to the UK, but then as I've said, I don't really like the style of illustrations on the US covers. Maybe if I'd grown up with them as a child I would look on them fondly, but as it is, I don't. I kind of don't like them. So yeah, that was it. Those were all the covers that I'm going to talk about today. I feel like there are so many so many more covers that I could just go on and on and on about, but at least for today that's kind of like the first ones that came to mind. I am one of those people who is pretty picky when it comes to book covers, so if I prefer an American cover, I will go out of my way to order overseas and like get it shipped over to the UK, and I will pay like that extra price just if I like really hate the UK cover or something like that, if the US one is much better. So I feel like I do definitely have strong opinions when it comes to like different variations in book covers. And don't even get me started on book cover changes, like that's a whole new video. But yeah, that's about it. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully I didn't like offend too many people if you like disagreed with me at every single step, but again, these are just my opinions. I feel like I have good taste in book covers though. So yeah, that's it from me. Don't forget to check me out on other social media like Twitter and Instagram, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!